Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, recovering from Typhoon Tisoy's devastation.
Yung sa mga gamot, mga moxicillin, yung ilog namin, pag umabis, nagsalubong yung high tide, ay yung buong barangay ko ay baka ho mapuno ng tubig.
Government agencies assessing the typhoon's impact.
We also encourage the airlines, especially the local carriers, to plan and bring out all the necessary information about their schedule ahead of time.
And the Build program, a success or a failure.
Sabi ko sa kanila, hindi ko kailangan yung build. Do not give me that kind of...
And emergency powers to fast-track infrastructure projects. Public Works and Highways Secretary Mark Villar joins us live. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pinky Webb. Local officials confirmed that 5 people were killed at the height of Typhoon Tisoy. 2 were from Oriental Mindoro, 1 in Marinduque, and another in Ormoc, another one from Camarines Sur, who was electrocuted before the typhoon hit. The Weather Bureau says conditions have improved as local governments and the people are recovering from the typhoon. Also, halfway through President Rodrigo Duterte's term, the administration revises its Build program list. What does this imply amid critics saying it is a, quote, dismal failure? Let's go straight to the source of the story. Public Works and Highways Secretary Mark Villar. Secretary, good to see you again. Thank you for your time,
Thank
sir.
you very much. Thank you.
Let's start with the Typhoon Tisoy. What's your overall assessment?
Well, at this point, in terms of national roads, we have about 19 road closures for usually fallen trees, sometimes fallen electrical poles. We also have several bridges that were unpassable due to the higher level of water in the rivers. Overall, the damages weren't, no major damages yet on any of our road networks, but there was a lot of debris that had to be cleared.
When you talk about 19 road closures, how much longer will they be closed and how bad is the damage in which part of the country?
Well, there was, in Car, there were some road slips and certain landslides. And there was about 4 road closures. In Region 5, in terms of national road, we have about 1. Region 8, we have 8. 4B, that's in about 3 road closures. So at this point, we expect that that was as of 6 a.m. today. So later by today, we expect most of these to be cleared. Prior to the bagyo, we had already pre-positioned all our assets. So at this point, it's just a matter of time before we clear all the national roads, and most are passable.
Were you more concentrated on Region 5?
We were ready in Region 5, but we're ready in all regions. It's part of our standard protocol that before any major weather disturbance, we always pre-position all our road clearing assets on the field. So no matter what happens, they can respond in our national roads. Our objective is to make sure the national roads are cleared at the soonest possible time.
Possible. It first made landfall in Sorsogon, and then Biliran, Quezon Province, and then Occidental Mindoro. Can you just share anything, sir? Any major damage? Let me start with Sorsogon, if you have any information right now.
Well, at this point in 5, what reports we have from, we can start with the 5. Catanduanes, Albay, mostly in Dang Maharlika, there were fallen trees, assorted areas with fallen trees. So that was the report from there. From Camarines Sur, we had also along Maharlika, there was also fallen trees. So I think in Sorsogon also there was reports of fallen trees along the main thoroughfares. Okay. But we're also in the process of checking all roads, even local roads, to make sure that if there's any debris, that we'll make sure that it's cleared at the soonest possible time.
Understandably, Secretary, because as the typhoon hit yesterday, a lot of those who need to go out on the street had to wait for some time before the typhoon would actually leave that particular path, so it becomes safe. So assessment at this point is definitely very initial. But Quezon Province also badly hit, sir?
It was hit. There were certain It's this, mostly the main road, Maharlika, because we were really focused on Maharlika,
Yeah.
the main thoroughfare. And again, it was mostly trees that had fallen. So at this point, most of the trees have been cleared. So
Okay.
we should expect that within the day, almost all national roads will have been are passable.
But no major damage on bridges.
No major damages.
Nothing.
No
All
major
right.
damages.
We'll be taking a short break. We're going to talk about the budget of the Department of Public Works and Highways after the break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Public Works and Highways Secretary Mark Villar. Let's talk about the budget of the DPWH. Sir, how much did you ask for?
More or less about 540 plus billion. We, based on our priorities, we identified these projects.
540 billion, but
Right,
I think the House and the Senate are still kind of reconciling what to give the DPWH.
Yeah,
through
I
BICAM.
understand there's some changes that were being proposed. We always defer to the wisdom of the legislature when it comes to these things. But of course, we propose and we recommend.
Right. Questions from Senator Ping Lacson. He's saying that, did you amend the DPWH budget? Why? He was questioning a lump sum appropriation amounting to about 45 billion pesos. He called them vague descriptions.
I think we clarified with any vague descriptions, it was clarified during the congressional hearings. We said, some of them, usually we have kilometer markings. And we explained that for some local roads, hindi naman masyado mahaba, wala talagang kilometer markings. We have kilometer markings for our major national roads, national highways, so we can really have, but when it comes to the local roads, there's no clear markings as of now. We haven't inventoried all of them because they're local. So we explained that, and at the same time, there were we proposed certain, what we call errata, some certain changes in the budget because when the NEP comes out, of course, people have their own comments, even our operations, that's the first time when they see it, of course, they'll have their own comments. It's an ongoing thing. So we try to accommodate it. This is all with the purpose of making a very efficient budget that meets everyone's needs.
But were there any cut and paste? Because that's what he said.
No, I think they showed there was an entry there that was the title was requesting for. I suppose it was a clerical error,
Okay.
but I think they cited one. So it's hundreds of pages long. There's bound to be some clerical errors.
You said thousands of pages.
This is just for the DPWH.
Yeah.
But for the whole budget, it's parang nobela yun. Sa sobrang kapal. Sobrang kapal.
So, pag sinabi po, Secretary, just to be clear, if you put an allotment for a road na walang, paano ho ba explain walang kilometer? It's because especially during roads that are provincial or in rural areas do not have that particular
some of them
metric.
they're not even that long to begin with. Some of them are really,
So how do you actually put that?
We just put it barangay in terms of the location. We try to be as specific as we can with given, because like with us, we really inventory our national roads, so we can really be specific. Per project, this kilometer. But when it comes to certain roads that don't have the kilometer readings or certain projects, we do our best to make it as specific as possible.
So at some point, it's just gonna say barangay. Ganun ho ba
Yes,
yun?
at some point. If it's really a local road, like we have convergence programs with other departments, like leading to a let's say a tourist spot or leading to a industrial center that might not necessarily have kilometer markings because they're local. So in those instances, we explain that we try our best to be as specific as possible, but if there's we don't have a local inventory of all local roads as of yet.
And was that acceptable?
Yeah, this was acceptable. They passed it
At the House?
at the House and the Senate.
Okay.
So now at this point, it's in the BICAM.
Yeah, they're in BICAM right now. In fact, they met in Makati last week. I wanted to put in an interview of Senator Ping Lacson just to move forward on that. He said that the 45 billion was vague in description, and what happened was, and I quote what he said was, what they did while dinilit nila, so you deleted the 45 billion, but he said you added 47 billion. Here's what he said. What they did while dinilit nila ang kinwestiyon ko, nag-introduce sila ng bagong projects worth 47 billion pesos. Is this true, sir?
We didn't do it. We recommend. Let's be clear. We don't have the power to do anything. We don't have the power to. We
You
only
don't have the
recommend
power to
based on our
amend.
expertise and based on our consultations with various stakeholders, we recommend. And that's what we recommend. For instance, when we come out with our initial budget proposal, meron din mga comment. Marami nagko-comment and suggestion na baka itong project, this is a priority, you know. So we try to accommodate this. And if they have a point and, you know, technically it's correct and, you know, it's not a perfect, you know, nothing's ever, no one's perfect. So of course we leave some flexibility to make the budget more efficient. So I think that's where it came from, and then that's where it comes from. And at the same time, ultimately the power of the purse is with Congress. We can only recommend.
But is it true when he said that you deleted, the DPWH deleted 45 billion and then added 47
No,
billion?
I think it's more we work within our budget and we don't delete. We let's say there's a road here that's out, and then someone recommends someone's for operation. Maybe we can prioritize this other area, this other
Instead.
section's more critical. Or it might come out that when we did the NEP, we thought this was it might have been there might have been some changes that
Yeah.
this became a priority, and so they'll recommend like baka ito na lang mas maganda na mag-project tayo dito. And then so if we look at it and then we analyze it, and if they have a point and it's correct, then we can change it. Right?
So does it really come to a point, sir? Because when you have congressmen or local government officials know their respective districts better than you, for example, marami ho bang lumalapit sa inyo at sinasabing ito na lang i-prioritize nyo, Secretary, and not this one?
Actually, not just congressmen, mayors, congressmen,
local government officials.
all government officials, stakeholders. They really come to us. They say this project is important, and then we listen to everyone, and then we check ourselves kung tama naman yung sinasabi
But
nila.
you defer to them because they know the area
No,
better than
we
you.
listen to them. We don't defer to them. We listen to their points and we check. Of course, we don't take every. We have to We have our own priorities. We have our own. We have to make. You know, we have our own goals that we want to attain. But if let's say there are some points that were made that and it's assorted. You can't really have a one size fits all.
Yeah.
But they many times they have a point, and we take these into consideration. And you know, we try to listen to everyone. That's our job.
Okay, are there lump sum in the budget?
No,
or is it all line budgeting, really?
It's line budgeting. If you look at it, I mean, like I said earlier, like if it's a local road, it might have a different. The definition might not be the same kilometer reading, just because not all roads have kilometer markings at this point. There are a lot of local roads that do not. So we really endeavor to make sure that it's as specific as possible. And ultimately, if they feel that they want more, if they feel that some of the descriptions are lacking, we're more than happy to accommodate. And that's what we did during the budgetary process when they brought to our attention that they wanted more details, then we'll certainly furnish them with that. In fact, it's so voluminous, so many that we have to put annexes that are hundreds of pages.
All right. Just before we go on a break, there were some congressmen who were saying, I believe, that they were deprived of the budget last year. Paano ho yun? But do you cover up, or not cover up, rather, make up for those areas that were deprived last year?
We do our best, but we have a ceiling. We have a limit. We still have to accommodate, all areas, all regions. You know, we try to be as fair as possible. So, if
How difficult is that job, sir?
It's very difficult. It's very difficult. And it's one of the, I guess it's one of the less appreciated tasks of the. It's really difficult to try to balance all these, of course, priorities of the department, of the national government, and do it within a limited ceiling. It's very difficult, but we try our best. And to give credit to the DPWH, they really every year they really try hard to make it as systematic as possible. But again, these things are not. Not everything is exactly as everyone would want it to be. So we try to improve as much as possible.
We'll be taking another short break. We'll be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Public Works and Highways Secretary Mark Villar. Sir, is it true that only 9 out of the 75 flagship projects of the Build, Build, Build program of the Duterte administration is under construction?
No, that's I think it would be a misconception to limit the Build, Build, Build to an old list that we had. I remember that was something the NEDA had proposed a long time ago, and then we did prior to doing our pre-feasibility studies. So after the pre-feasibility studies, if you look at the Build website, we have a lot. There's a lot of changes. It was an ongoing thing. Of course, what we looked at initially, and we have to be efficient also. If it comes on the pre-feasibility study, some of these projects are not economically viable. We have to prioritize those ones that are economically viable. And to date, I'll give you some numbers in terms of, let's say, we've built 9,000 kilometers worth of road, more than 2,700 bridges, more than 70,000 classrooms. The ratio of classrooms to students has gone from 35 to 28:1. So, I mean, there are definitely solid accomplishments in the build. With regards to that list, I mean, we cannot encompass a whole universe of 80,000 projects in a list of 75. It's not an old list. So let's not, I don't even want to talk about the list. But given that everyone, the DPWH, we provide them a list of all our flagship projects that we're planning to accomplish by the end of the term. And it's a very impressive list, a very massive
So tell
list.
us more about that. If you don't want to talk about these 75 flagship projects,
Yes.
what's the list of the DPWH? How much has been accomplished?
Well, let's talk about, in terms of accomplishment, the people, they've mentioned disbursements as one of the ways, the metrics for measuring accomplishment. In 2018 alone, the Duterte administration dispersed 590 billion pesos. That was just in 1 year. And in fact, that was the highest efficiency ever in the history of the department. So since we've...
And what does that translate to? If you say
That's
590
directly correlated to physical accomplishment. So when you talk about what is the administration accomplished physically, that's the best metric, because the finance is very strict. They won't pay for anything that hasn't gone through all the requirements by the COA. So if you're looking at metrics in terms of how much has been physically accomplished, one of the best metrics is the disbursement. So when you look at the disbursements, the disbursement efficiency to begin with, that's already, at that point, it's already 79, almost 80%. That's the highest it's ever been. The obligation is at 93%, highest it's ever been also. So what we're looking at is the highest efficiency rate with the highest budget level. To give you an idea, I think in the first 2 or 3 years, we've dispersed more than a trillion pesos already. That's already more than most administrations for the whole of most administrations. So it's really something unprecedented.
So it's really talking about value, the money value. Sir.
Yes,
Parang
yes.
ganun lumalabas.
Yes.
So in the past 2.5 years, almost 1 trillion.
Yes. And actually, already we're tracking, this year, we've already dispersed 500 billion.
Yeah.
So we will, despite the fact that we had a late budget, we'll surpass our disbursements the year before.
So you're saying in 2019, to be clear, sir, also 500 billion already?
No, to date, but the year isn't finished yet. So we'll surpass, our disbursements last year was 590. So we'll even surpass that this year, despite all the challenges.
The delayed budget of 20.
Despite the challenges. So I think to give credit to this administration, there's really no comparison, and there's nothing of this scale that has been done before. But if you want, we can talk about specifics also.
I want to talk about, sir, we're running out of time, solid infrastructure projects that you are proud of have been finished.
Let's talk about I'll name some. Laguna Lake Highway, that's a 10-kilometer new highway that we built with the first independent bike lane in Metro Manila. So you know how challenging it is to build in Metro Manila. Recently, we opened the Harbor Link, that's for the trucks in the port. And as an overall master plan, we look at this Luzon Spine Expressway network. The end goal of that, basically from north to south, from La Union to Bicol, 9 hours from 18. The TR4 is ongoing. We just, the connector is already starting. The Skyway is about to be delivered.
Yeah.
And the TPLX is about to be delivered, the final, and we're going to start on the extension to La Union.
All right. Is it a success? Because, of course, you know, sir, that the Senator Franklin Drilon had called it a dismal failure. The president's a build program. How would you describe it?
Well, you know, ako naman, I'm not gonna. Let's go by the numbers. There's no metric that you can give me that would lead you to the conclusion that it was a failure. Definitely not a failure. And I think the statistics would point to that: the highest disbursement rate, the most efficient disbursement rate, the most number of projects, the highest number of big ticket projects, the largest pipeline that we've ever had. And if you look at the list that the president has of projects, I mean, decongesting EDSA, road network in conflict-affected areas, the longest bridges that have ever been built. The Pangil Bay Bridge, 3.8 kilometers. Did you know, to date, the longest bridge that's ever been built is 2 kilometers long.
Yeah.
The shortest bridge that we're going to build is 2.8 kilometers. So
Surpassing the
yeah, I
longest
mean,
bridge. Okay.
the scale is tremendous. I don't even have, if I had to go through the whole list of projects, we'd be here until tomorrow.
Okay. Secretary Mark Villar, sir, maraming salamat po sa
Thank you,
inyo
thank
and
you,
good luck. Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.